Now, how old was this bike?
It was very old.
How old?
So I got it in my 20s, so I'm obviously a
It's
little bit
about
older.
20 years old.
Yes, it
Let's
is,
say
yeah.
let's say it's close to 2 decades.
Yeah, but it was a vintage style, so it had sentimental meaning. And I've not been able to do my exercise, so it's not just
Yes,
about
you've
the
said
bike.
that. You're not suing for that.
Well, but then it's
Would it,
affected my life.
would it surprise you that a bike online, after I asked Michelle to do research, almost identical, that you can buy on one of the auction sites? Do you know how much that would cost?
I haven't looked at that, no.
£40. Why should you be entitled to buy a brand new one as opposed to one which is 20 years old? £40.
I should be compensated for the time that I wasn't with a bike and it affected my curves.
Well, how much is that? I'm just wondering. Bearing in
Can you
mind
put
you
a
can only
price on
sue for loss.
curves? I don't know.
Well, what's the loss?
I lost my curves.
Let me help you with the law, madam. You have to be able to demonstrate a loss. Some sort of financial consequence.
I've lost my toned curves. I have still got curves, but I need toned
What's the
ones.
loss? Some people would say that's a positive benefit.
What, not to have toned? You need them to be toned. If you're going to rock the curves, you need them to be toned.
Well, what's the financial loss? What's your loss? What have
Well,
you
I
lost?
perhaps didn't get as much modelling or Diana Dawes appearances. I'm a vintage fuller figure model, so perhaps they wouldn't give me work.
Madam, if you're appearing as Diana Dawes,
I
I
am.
suspect that that's a rather extraordinary benefit, to be slightly
It is.
happier endowed.
But I'm sure Diana Dawes would have always had a bike available to ride.
Told you, she's crazy.
I'd like you to imagine being Max.
OK.
As far as you can recount, what took place in respect of Max and the milkshake?
Well, he does this stupid thing where he bobbles his head when he's falling asleep.
Well, show me.
Like this.
Then what happened?
And the milkshake went all over the van.
I wouldn't say it's my fault, though.
Is it my fault?
No, Judge.
I don't think I've caused anyone to spill a milkshake.
It's the fast food restaurant's fault.
Why was it their fault?
Because they didn't put the lid on properly, so then it obviously fell out, because it happens a lot. When you buy drinks and it's not on properly, you have to reconnect it. So it's a plausible answer.
Plausible. So you don't have any responsibility. And so what you might say is, if they don't put the lid on, and there have been cases like this, if you'd scalded yourself, for example, with a hot drink, you would be suing that fast food restaurant, correct?
Luckily, it was a milkshake.
Luckily it was. What about if you'd had a cigarette in your hand, for example? Would you have put it out before thinking about falling asleep?
No. I mean, yes.
Yes! Now, the thing was, he did his best to clean it up insofar as he could in his tired state. It wasn't a terribly good job. What happened? What was the result of it?
We didn't use the van over that weekend, and it was in October when it was really hot. So I opened the door, and the milk had obviously gone off.
Give me a sense. There you are. You open the door. Open the door.
Just like
What are we
that.
talking? Give me a sense of the precise word. How did it smell? And don't you worry about my blushes. How bad?
Imagine you get a cut on your foot that gets infected and you break it and a bone's sticking out, so they wrap it in a cast and it doesn't get washed for 6 weeks, and then they take the cast off and the infection has gone sepsis. That's as bad as it was, if not worse. It was horrendous.
That's
Sorry, mate.
extraordinarily descriptive. You're telling me that your van smelt like trench foot?
Yes.
What did you do?
I had to get it professionally cleaned, which at the time didn't seem that much of an issue until they told me it'd take a long time to get the smell out of the van. It took them 7 hours.
£120, is that right?
correct.
Why don't you owe it, Max? You spilt the milk.
I think that...
Did you smell it?
I didn't know, but I did try to clean it up, and since then I have not got milkshake, I've got fruit-based drinks instead. So. But I am willing to pay. I think I should pay half of it. It was in the band. It was a band problem. It was by accident.
So
Yes.
you spilt the milkshake, so it's your fault.
But I think you're just being a bit of a Scrooge, to be honest.
I just think that you're being tight with money. It's his fault. He fell asleep, which is the reason why the milkshake fell over.
But he bought me the milkshake while I was tired, so...
See, this is what he does. He passes the blame on to everybody else. It's never his fault.
Why do you not owe this money?
Well,
I won the bet. Nothing would have happened if he just, accepted his loss and we went our happy ways, essentially.
Pause for a second. You see, what happens is from time to time at Christmas, I have a little book of moral. And what I like to do is to write down legal defences, which are news to me, but just make me, titter from time to time. And this is a new one for me. I broke your television, and I wouldn't have done so because had you paid me what you owed me, I wouldn't have got so enraged, and consequently, I wouldn't have picked up the console and thrown it at the television. Consequently, therefore, it is your fault.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Just pause for a second.
Yeah, that's what happened. Amazing.
Now, thank you very much. Your claim is for a new television to the tune of that receipt, yes?
Yes, indeed.
Excellent. Nick, you've a counterclaim. I've just seen it. What's your counterclaim for, sir?
£250.
For the value of the bet.
We had a gentleman's agreement, a gentleman's handshake. We played many bets beforehand. He's paid up, I've paid up. Don't know why this time.
Do you believe that that bet is actionable in law? What
There must be
basis do you have?
something for it.
Sorry?
There must be something there for it.
Must be something there for it.
Yeah.
Is it
I'm not personally that involved in the law side of things, but
understand. Oh, well,
here to make your,
here's your lucky day.
here to make your decision.
What
for
I
me.
do. Dad's an enthusiast for all things aircraft, and you, sir, were sent an email because Dad suggested a present. Am I right?
That's right, yes.
What was the present he suggested?
It was a remote-controlled toy helicopter.
Did you want the helicopter?
I had my heart set on a drone, which is much more expensive, but it's got more features on it.
Understood. You wanted a drone, and Dad said, well, I'm not sure a drone is a good idea, but how about a helicopter? And you agreed, right?
It seemed like a good entry-level point into flying, because I never had a flying toy before.
Understood. Now, sir, did you buy it for your son?
I did.
How much was it?
It was reduced from £150 down to 75.
Did you get the present?
I did.
Was it for Christmas?
It was, yes.
And what did you get your dad in return?
A chocolate bar.
So you got a flying machine worth £70 and you bought your dad a bar of chocolate.
To be honest with you, it was kind of a running joke in our family. I get them the same shaped chocolate bar every year. It's kind of a running joke we have.
Now, he bought you this helicopter.
Yes.
Did you open it?
I did.
Were you thrilled with it, or did you still want the drone?
A little bit of me still wanted the drone, but I was very pleased to have it, and I've never had a toy like that before, and I was very pleased to have it, yes.
Now, just to be clear, sir, it's difficult to know... How old are you?
27.
It's difficult to know what to get a 27-year-old or a 26-year-old, so challenging. And he thought a toy chopper would be just it.
Absolutely.
You opened it.
I did.
I presume you wanted to fly it yourself, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
What happened next, sir?
I suggested that we wait till the following morning because it was obviously dark outside, and we fully charged our batteries, read the instructions, but Dad was just too enthusiastic. He just wanted to fly it there and then.
What time of night was this?
About 8 o'clock.
And what happened next?
We went out into the garden. One of the batteries was at 50% charged, so sufficient to fly. I'd very briefly read the instructions of what the controls do, and I was very reluctant, but Dad made me give him the controls. Made
you? Let's be clear. How on earth did you get your hands on the control to your son's chopper?
Well, Judge, I tried to point out that I had more aeronautical experience and flying, and I thought I would show him how it works first before I let him at the controls.
Well, how are you going to show him that? You've had some background, as I understand it, working in museums, but you've never operated one of these before.
No, but it's a gadget, and I like to think I knew more about gadgets than he did.
And a bit of flying experience. Haven't you been, in addition to this chopper, haven't you been in a chipmunk or something?
I have, yes, I've flown...
I mean the planes.
Yes.
Sir, I don't understand the basis of your complaint, because it's quite clear to me that Leland did, in fact, put you in the calendar. There you are at January 2018. So, bearing in mind you made it, so to speak, what exactly is the basis of your complaint, and why do you say you suffered a loss? Thank you for the calendar.
Well, firstly, it was the 13th month of the year, which is unlucky, and also I'd gone into a lot of work there, and I was put in January, which by the time it gets to January, most people have discarded their calendars, got new ones, and you end up in the bin. And I thought that all that work that I'd gone through and all the hassle I'd gone through was just, for in the bin, and I felt really insulted about it and upset.
And you're deadly serious about it.
Absolutely.
Sorry to obviously use the pun, bearing in mind your hobby, but you are.
Absolutely.
The point of the matter is that you use this as an opportunity to expand your commercial business, which is based on your hobby. Being the last person in the calendar meant that you wouldn't have got the same exposure had you been the first person. Were you specifically guaranteed a position in the calendar, yes or no?
Yes, I was, and I felt that, you know,
Did
putting
you
there...
specifically guarantee him a month? Did you say that he would be Mr. Ordinary February?
No, well, we shot everybody first, and then we decided who fits into which month.
You never gave anybody any promises?
I think the barbed wire lady said her birthday was August, and she wanted August
Apart
for her
from the
month.
barbed wire lady?
The barbed wire lady was the only one that I can recall.
OK, on the night before we were going on holiday, my wife came home from work, and as is her wont, she's a wonderful wife, and she likes to get everywhere spick and span and everything if we're going away. And so she comes in and she's trying to do everything and more to get things ready. And I'd bought some brassica plants.
Some what?
Brassicas, cabbages.
Cabbages.
To plant in the allotment.
Is he into his cabbages?
Not that year.
Is he always mindful about mess and dirt and that sort of thing around the house?
No, Judge.
Even after 40 years?
No, Judge.
Does he always clean up after himself and never bring dirt into the home?
No, Judge.
Goodness me. What happened?
So I made a suggestion that I might take these plants, which I thought would probably die in the greenhouse over the week, and we could go up the allotment, which got rebuffed. So I went to the greenhouse. Carol was doing something somewhere in the house, and I came back carrying small trays of brassicas.
Small trays of brassicas?
Small trays of brassicas.
Small trays. Now, sorry, how big? This big or this big?
No.
When you ask a gentleman how big something is, I can't rely on it. I'm going to ask you, madam.
That big?
About that big. Understood. Then what happened?
And I came walking in through the kitchen door and proceeded to walk through the kitchen. And unfortunately, rather negligently, my wife had left the dishwasher door open. My left foot went underneath the dishwasher, and I went flying over the dishwasher and ended in a heap on the floor.
Steve has provided me with an exact narrative, I suppose, a photographic narrative of what took place. Let's have a look. You've provided me with a reconstruction of what took place. Is this it?
This is it.
It's a sort of like just pause. This is rather like Crime Watch.
I was a scientist, CSI.
Understood. You fall over. It's just for the avoidance of doubt. Is that you there?
That is me.
Did you see him on the floor, madam?
I did see him on the floor, Judge, but may I just interject here and say that that is not the exact crime scene because my kitchen was covered in wet compost and brassicas, which I then had to clear up. His leg went under the dishwasher, he fell over, the brassicas went up in the air and went all down my freezer and all down the kitchen and on the floor and...
Understood. It was very serious.
It was.
So serious that you ended up in a bandage and worse still. What was the diagnosis? There you are.
It's torn Achilles tendon, and I was in plaster and boot for 6 months.
Indeed. And in fact, you had to go around the house on a scooter. And worse still, for that winter 2016, what did it mean for you, sir?
It meant I couldn't do the job. I mean...
Now, at that stage, it was June or July, so you didn't really have many bookings, if any. So you weren't confident of what bookings you would receive.
No.
However, the following year, 2017 and 2018, you've received your usual requests, if not more, correct?
Yeah. Well, I started off last year, I got quite a few. This year, I've had already, I've got probably as many as I want, and I'm turning them away.
You provided me with, very helpfully, a letter from your consultant surgeon. He says this: during this period, he would have been unable to drive either a car or a sleigh? Don't be stupid. Stay and watch the best Judge Rinder moments. And I'm talking. Understood? Don't be a moron. Subscribe to Judge Rinder YouTube channel. Right now. That's an order.